Hi, everybody. It says Allison from Allykatkreations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I see you out there. And if you get anything from my work, a connect the dot, an epiphany, a mind-blown moment, a new book to read, new authors to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of the description. And I launched a website. Took me some time, but I finally did it. I didn't hold off. It's up now. It's just my portfolio of work. There, you can't buy anything on the site. Don't worry. It's just to see what I do. And if there is anything there you like, if it's still available, great. If not, I can make you something similar. I keep pumping work out. I'm doing a lot of things privately only because of the government. And the fact of the matter is, after all said and done, I want to keep the prices so that everybody can afford something. And the problem with that is when you get involved with a site, not just a website, but selling, they take a cut. And then if someone uses a credit card, there's a cut. And by the end of the day, if I get something out of what I just put hundreds of dollars into, I'm not receiving too much. So this way I'm doing things privately for now until I can get the capital to invest in doing a store. But for the moment, I'm doing it privately. My email's at the bottom. Check it out, AllyKatzkreations211.com. Holidays are coming up, and I'm going to be pumping out some possible holiday goodies. And when I say holiday, it's to encompass everybody. Not because it's one or the other, it's holiday festiveness. Anywho, Oahspe told you I was going to do a reading if you watched my video from yesterday. We're still at the first book of God, because usually some sections are shorter, some are longer. So we're going to start there, and then we're going to head up to the top. Yeah. Let's hope I can project well today. And thank you again to a lot of people. I'm getting a lot of new subscribers. So if you're just jumping into this video, I really highly suggest starting at the first book of Cpenta Armji, only because you're gonna get lost. But you could stay if you want, but there are a lot of words that I cannot project or pronounce properly. I have from here, you can see the little gap in my teeth, to here. That's a bridge, and it falls out of my mouth, and it's loose right now. And I also have no teeth back here. I have a nubbin that's really bothering me. Nothing I can do about it. I need it pulled, but it's stuck in my gum. And then the little shards of teeth are hanging out. Never had luck with my teeth. And I'm hoping that there is some kind of discovery that I can grow my teeth. I like get what is not working pulled out and then get my teeth to grow back in. I'd be happy camper. Or I get dentures. And everybody's like, get implants. Do I really want them going in my bone? Even though I would like them? Chapter 11. When Lot the younger escaped out of Sodom, he halted in a small city called Benha and tarried there while Sodom and Gomorrah were being consumed with fire. And because he was saved, he called the place Zoar, because he was a worshiper of the doctrines of Zarathustra, who was called in the Phoenician language Zoroastria. Why can't, I'm sorry, pause. Why can't they just Phoenician with an F should be PH, and Zoroastrianism should just speak that as terms of what it is, and not some crazy ass spelling that's phonetically sounding like Zoroastrianism or Zoroastria. Just saying. And the place was called Zohar for more than 1,000 years. When Lot departed out of Zohar, there went with him 2 tribes, and they were born of the house of Lot, offspring to the 2 tribes who accompanied him. And because these became the nations, and after years known as Moabites and Ammonites, who were of the Phoenicians, and their names show, and they follow the doctrines of Zarathustra. How did I'm sorry, a pause again. I'm like, now my brain is dinging all over the place. How did I get Zarathustra's name right? And everything else is like phonetically not cool. So one of you guys are Oahspe scholars. I know you are. Explain that to me. I mean, I know what they're talking about, but what's with the spellings here? Throwing me off. The Ammonites, who were of the Phoenicians, and their names show, and they follow the doctrines of Zarathustra. In former years, God appeared to Abraham in a dream and said unto Abraham, thou shalt be a father to 2 many peoples. When Abraham awoke, he told Sarah, his wife, she was troubled, being barren, and she prayed for God, Adam's sake. Now it came to pass that Hagar, Sarah's maid, had a son and called his name Ishmael. And Sarah was jealous of Hagar and abused her during pregnancy. And the Lord spake to Abraham, saying, because of the hatred betwixt thy women, Hagar's son will be as a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man shall be against him. Abraham said, how, O God? And God said, I told thee thou shouldest be a father of many peoples, and thou toldest Sarah thy wife. Now Sarah became vain in her desires for offspring, and in her eagerness she opened the door of thy house to Satan. And hence this matter is upon thee. Go therefore, my son, and reconcile thy woman. And Abraham told Sarah what God had said. And Sarah inquired of Abraham, saying, before God, tell me, is Ishmael thy son? And God shall judge betwixt us. Adam said, teach me, O God, to answer Sarah, that I may reconcile them. And God said, behold, thy creator is the father of all living things. And when Abraham told Sarah God's words, she cried in sorrow and repentance, saying, thou art wise, O God, for what matter is it to me, since I know that Ishmael is thy son and Hagar is thy daughter? Sarah went to Hagar and said, O my sister, I have sinned before the Lord my God. I saw thy son and knew God gave him, but I turned against my own soul and loved not thy treasure. Hagar said, saidst thy God that Abraham was father to my child? And Sarah said, nay. O Hagar. Hagar said, neither said I thy husband was Ishmael's father. So they reconciled, and the right of the beginning of Abraham's nations, Ishmael was Abraham's son before God, not in the flesh. Sarah had a son and was called Isaac, because he was born of Sarah after she had passed the time of childbearing. And when Hagar beheld that Sarah bore a son, Hagar became jealous for Ishmael's sake. And she wept before Abraham. Hagar said, I am in Arabia women, and I left my people for thee. Behold, I am not favored of thy God. Abraham said, have I not been as a father to thee and thy son? Yeah, when all people revile thee because thou hast a child in maidenhood, laying it on me, I denied thee not, nor justified myself before the king's people, suffering these things for God's sake, and thine and thy child's. Complain not then against my house, nor my wife, nor my son, Isaac. All things are of the Creator. And Hagar was pacified for a season, but afterward returned to grief and jealousy, and finally resolved to depart away from Abraham's house. Then said Abraham to Hagar, the matter lieth with thee, and I give thee, according to the custom of Arabians, a jug with water and bread and blankets. So Hagar persisted, and Abraham provided her, and she departed, taking Ishmael with her, and she went into Paran and dwelt there. In those days, Arabia was divided into many kingdoms, some having one city and some two, some many as 6 cities. And they were constantly at war with one another. And the victors always changed the names of the kingdoms. The largest and most powerful always called itself the Sun Kingdom, after the manner of the Persians. In the Sun Kingdom dwelt men and women learning, and they had tablets and books and maps relating to heaven and earth, which books, maps, and tablets were kept in a library, the summit of which building was used as an oracle for consulting with the spirits called lords of heaven, for which purpose a man or woman whose head had been flattered in infancy sat by a table covered with sand, whereupon the spirits wrote with their finger. And the person so communing with the spirits was called Ajin in the South Arabian language, and it was in rank next to the Sun King. Now, no matter what wars took place, the library, the temple of the oracle, and the Ajin were sacred and never suffered harm, even betwixt enemies. The kings kept scribes whose business was to write and translate and to keep the records of the kingdom. Besides these, there were gatherers of news who held the second rank of scribes. Now, when Abraham and his people came into Arabia, especially into the part now called Egypt, the matter was entered into records of the different kingdoms, with especial reference to Abraham's professing to hear the voice of God, for he had not a flat head. Moreover, had good judgment of his own, quite unlike the Ajins and the temples. Pause. I am curious what this flat head has to do with anything. Because if it's an elongated head, that's Anunnaki. You see that in a lot of Egyptian sculptures and a lot of Persian sculptures of that time era. They have a little bit more of a noggin than normal humans. Again, do some research. And I'm not saying to, to listen to me. I'm just giving you my perception. We're aliens. But because Adam had no counsel as to war to earthly gain, he was not favored by any of the kings and suffered to go his way unmolested. When Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed, the king's people heaped the blame on Abraham's head, and then rose up enemies against Abraham in the regions. And they also accused him of attempting to burn his son Isaac as a sacrifice to his God, after the manner of the heathen of old. And they accustom Abraham of being the father of Ishmael by his servant maid, and of driving Hagar and Ishmael away to Paran after he tired of her. And these customs and many more alike, wickedness were heard by the news gatherers, the scribes, and they wrote them down, not knowing of the truth what they were doing before God. And so their records were entered into the libraries of the kings of Arabia, especially of the part now known as Egypt. Abraham perceived these matters and wept before God, saying, "Oh, alas, O God, would that I had great learning and could write my record truthfully before men." God answered him, saying, "Thy faith being in Jehovah it is well with thee. In thousands of years, one Ezra shall send his scribes into the countries to gather news, even as do the kings of this day. And his scribes shall translate from these records with all their errors and falsehoods, and Ezra shall publish the matter as the history of the deliverance." Abraham, hearing this of God, bowed down to his head and wept, saying, "Thy will be done." And God comforted him, saying, "I am the light and the life. The God of heaven and earth will come after and render the records of thy life, which are not dead, but of everlasting. Since then thy people shall be honored by even that which shall come from their enemies. How much greater will be their glory when God of heaven speaketh of thee and them." Abraham inquired of God concerning the peoples of the kings and the faithists. And God said, "Whomever so I lead to thee shall be thine. Thou shalt henceforth be father to all men and women and children that are thine, and they shall be thy family. But all other peoples shall not be thine, nor shalt thou be to them a father nor a prophet. Neither shalt thou make laws of the king's peoples, nor laws betwixt thy people of them. Of thy own people shalt thou be, and for thy own people shalt thou be forever. Nor shall thy people have anything in common with the king's peoples, nor with any other people under the sun, nor enter into treaties, nor alliances, nor in any way whatsoever. Both thy labor and the labor of thy people are for Jehovah, through the Lord of thy God. But touching the intercourse betwixt thine and the king's peoples, be circumspect to the value of a fraction in buying and selling, to give the full value. Neither suffer my chosen to accept presents, or otherwise to become obligated to other peoples, for it is the law of thy God. For it shall not be said by the king's peoples, "Behold, I made them." For I say unto thee, neither kings nor rich men make the people of thy God. Whosoever would give these gifts, let him quit his people and come and dwell with me, my people, in person and spirit. I cannot be put off with money and with gifts, like a peevish child or a wanton woman. Shall a man say, "Here are gifts for thy God"? He is a good enough God. But as for my soul, it is too good to give to thee or thy God. Neither shalt thou suffer the people to marry with the king's peoples for the same reason, but whosoever will marry my daughters, let him come and dwell first with my people, proving that he hath forsaken all the idolatrous gods for Jehovah's sake. It shall be the same of thy sons. If they desire strange damsels for wives, they shall first bring them to dwell 1 year amongst my chosen. Abraham inquired concerning government, and God said unto Abraham to teach people to dwell together in peace, order, harmony, and love. Being disciplined to these, what more is required? Government belongeth to the king's peoples. Abraham said, "That I have spoken before thee, O God, teach thou me, for I am as one in the dark cellar, groping about. Behold, my people are unlearned." God said, who is learned? I say unto thee, he who knoweth the stars and the rocks and the mountains and valleys, and all that is living and dead, the tongues of the ancients, but knoweth not the Creator is unlearned. But he that knoweth the Creator is learned indeed. Better it is that thy people dwell in tents and under trees, and not their people. Sorry, my brain's going a little quick. Their children roll on the ground and die not, but grow strong in person and in spirit for the glory of the Creator, that to dwell as the king's peoples in magnificent cities and in lust and death before thy God, thy people are a most learned people. Abraham inquired of the Lord concerning servitude, and God answered him, saying, there is but one master, even Jehovah. Thy people shall he his servants only. But all people have loves. A damsel saith to her lover, I will be thy servant, and he marrieth her. A man saith to another, thy judgment is greater than mine. I will be thy servant, and thy man taketh him in love to work for him. Therefore, for convenience sake, thou mayest say, master and servant. Nevertheless, my chosen shall not, in fact, have either masters or servants, for the one shall not have authority over the other, but by love and free consent. Abraham asked concerning the products of labor. God said unto Abraham, even as I have said of servants and masters, so also it is of the productions that come out of earth. Nothing belongeth to any man, for all things are mine with the Creator. Nevertheless, for convenience sake, thou mayest say, this is his product, or that is such an one's product. But still he holdeth only by his Creator's consent. Let all men render unto the Creator his creations, for they are Jehovah's. After that, Abraham said, some men grow flax, some wool, some corn, but the seasons brings forth not alike unto all. Others spin and weave, and others make butter and cheese. And yet this happeneth also. One man is strong, another weak. One riseth with the sun, one toileth all day, another sitteth on the bank fishing. Now when the products are brought in, lo and behold, there are no two that are equal. And God said, every man's matter is betwixt him and his Creator, according to the diligence and industry, he rewardeth them in the end. He that perceiveth this knoweth his heavenly Father. He that perceiveth it not dwelleth in darkness. Abraham said, shall the lazy be rebuked, and they that shirk be upbraided? And God said, nay, let all thy people bring their products and cast them before thee, saying, this is my sacrifice unto Jehovah. Distribute thou it. And if some bring not anything, neither rebuke them nor pity them. They are the sons and daughters of thy God. And if some decorate themselves with the fine raiment or jewels, censure them not. The God searcheth their hearts. Abraham asked concerning lands. God said, consider thy God. Did I go to the king and to the rich man and say, giveth thou me thy sons and daughters? Nay, but I went to them that they're despised by the rich and by the king, and I said, come ye, and they came. And when thou wert come hither, did I say, take thou the king's lands, or the rich man's? Nay, but I led thee to that which was neglected and wasted in the eyes of the king's peoples. And I said, this is thy inheritance. Sufficient is it for thee and thy people to burying places for the dead, which shall not be distributed, but of all other lands neither buy nor sell. And after thy people have improved a place, and a king cometh again against me, saying, either by purchase or by battle, I will have this land, thou shalt say, nay, neither by purchase nor by battle shall thou inherit that which is Jehovah's. But if thou desirest the land, then I give it to thee without money and without battle. And it shall come to pass upon my chosen that they shall be driven from place to place, whither I will lead them, and they shall make the wastelands to bloom like gardens, and the deserts to yield ample harvests. For they shall dig wells and till the soil, and prove unto the nations of earth the glory of my works. And they shall be cut down and driven away and scattered, but I will come and gather them together. Their places shall be inherited by idolaters and worshippers of strange gods, who would build mighty temples. But my people shall not build in stone, nor wood, nor iron, that shall endure, for they shall go from place to place, proclaiming me and my works. But where they have been, there shall be nothing left on earth to show their labors. But when I have taken them across all the earth, and they are scattered as dust before the wind, and no man can say, here is a nation of the children of Abraham, lo, I will rise up my voice for them, even I, the God of heaven and earth. And in the day of the idolaters and worshippers of strange gods will be on the wane, their temples of stone and mortar will still be standing. But a voice shall go up from the whole earth, even for the far off nations of the earth, saying, what of them? Who laid the foundation of the temple of the one God, even Jehovah, who were the sons and daughters of Abraham? Oh, that my eyes could have beholden the faithfulness of that. Last part here. When Abraham's wife was getting old, her ears were open to hear the voice of God, and God said unto her, concerning thy son Isaac, hear thou thy God, even the God of Abraham. My labors are not for a day, nor without judgment. Behold, in the land of Eseth, the place of thy husband, in his youth, have I built for many generations concerning the seed of my people, for which reason thy son Isaac shall take a wife that shall inherit my voice. Before the time of thy husband's father's father, I sent my angel from heaven, saying, go thou and raise me up an heir to hear my voice, for I will dwell for a season with the children of men. And my angel fulfilled his part, and I have come and talked with thee and with thy husband face to face. And even like the manner can I talk to thy son Isaac, he can hear me also. And Isaac shall raise up heirs to my voice through his wife, to whom he has not known in this day. Sarah told Abraham what God had said to her. And so Abraham and Sarah went to the altar which Abraham had built, and they prayed alone. And God came and spake, saying, what would ye? And Abraham said, concerning our son Isaac's wife. And God said, because of the blessings of Sarah, thy wife, who hath been upright all her days, I will give her comfort in her old age. Send thy servant to the land of thy fathers, and I will send my angel with thy servant, and he shall come a maiden who shall be Isaac's wife. So Abraham called his servant, who was overseer over his goods, and he said to him, equip thyself with camels and asses, and with asses, should have just said donkeys, and with servants and with jewels I give thee, and go to Syria, the land of my fathers, and bring a damsel hither who shall be Isaac's wife. The overseer said unto Adam, alas me, how shall thy servant choose a wife for thy son? Or if choosing, how shall he induce her to come so far? Adam said, that which God hath commanded of me, I have told thee, save that God saith, my angel shall go with thy servant, and he shall not err. So the servant of Abraham, in fear and trembling, equips himself with 10 camels, 20 asses, and with 30 servants, taking presents and goods, and departed, and the journey occupied 22 days. And all the while the overseer reasoned upon what he should say, for he had misgivings that he was on a fool's errand. Nevertheless, he prayed to God that he might do his own part wisely. So when he came near Abraham's father's people, the angel of God spake in his heart, saying, she that cometh with a pitcher on her head shall be Isaac's wife. Say thou to her, wilt thou give me a drink? And she will say, I will give thee a drink, and also draw up water for thy servants and for thy camels. And the overseer looked, but saw no damsel. And he marveled. But presently he saw many damsels, one of whom had a pitcher on her head, and his heart failed him till she came near, and he said, give me a drink. And she gave him a drink, and said unto him, thou art a stranger, pray thee, I will water thy camels and drink unto thy servants. And so she gave as she said. And when she had finished, the overseer said unto her, who art thou? And she answered him, he perceived she was Isaac's niece, by Abraham's father's second wife, but of no blood kin. And then she asked the overseer who he was and whence he came. And he told her, even from Abraham, whose servant he was. So she invited him to her people's house, and she ran ahead with joy to tell whom had come so far, bringing word from Abraham. Now, when the camels and asses had been fed, and straws spread for the travelers to lie on, when repast was spread for them to eat, the overseer rose up, perceiving the way of God, and he said, till I have spoken, eat not, but hear ye the words of God. So he related the object of his visit as commanded by God, and in reference to the angel of God and the words that came to him. And when he had finished, the power of God came upon the damsel, whose name was Rebekah. They got that one right. And rose up and spake, saying, Isaac shall be my husband, and I shall be his wife, for I know this matter is of God. So it came to pass after some days, Rebekah departed from her people, and by her faith in God came to Abraham's home. And Isaac took her to wife, and Sarah rejoiced before God because of the light of his kingdoms through at Abraham's heirs. And God said unto Abraham, divide thou thy people into families of tens and families of hundreds and families of thousands, and give to each family one rabbi, and yet to all of them together one chief rabbi. And make thou thy will, and appoint thy son Isaac and his heirs by his wife Rebekah to be thy successor, that my voice may remain with my chosen. And Abraham made his will and did all things as God commanded, and he further made the rabbi of officers in the rights of I can't even attempt that. And communicated to them the sacred name of the Creator. I'm not saying that either. And the plans of the upper and lower heavens, the dominion of God, and the dominion of Satan, which were kept secret with the rabbi. God said, behold, there is a time to clear up all things, present and past, where Abraham fathered Hagar's son Ishmael, and had been true to the law of sacrifice amongst the heathen, then Ishmael, being firstborn, would have been chosen for the burnt offerings, in which matter Ezra Bible is shown to be false before Jehovah in regard to Abraham, Ishmael, and Isaac, and the burnt offering also. Which words were not in my words, nor the words of my angels, but the words of the Egyptian record. End of Abraham's history and of the first Phoenician Bible. Intriguing. Again, I have not read the actual Catholic. I was raised in a Jewish home, so I grew up with some of these stories. I'm indifferent. It's just really very interesting how things are portrayed. But interesting perspective, to say the least. And next I will do the upper book. Upper book. In the council of Krishavi, the voice of Jehovah came to Cpenta Armji, saying, Behold, the time of thy son and stars riseth in the road of Salkwaka. The red star neareth the fields of Abraham. Greatest oat sun hath filled with sinks and sloughs of Yoswaka. Thousands of millions of my sons and daughters behold the feast of Septa. Hear thou thy creator, O Cpenta Armji, for thou shalt spread broad the table of my host, such like as hath never been before in Hotsati. And thou shalt send Obed, god of Oahspe, Ravani, goddess of Ibthor, Ab Shriver of Riv Sing, Razi, goddess of Idras, Wishsi, god of Zuth, Harvava, god of Yanyan, Viraga Pit, I don't know if that's like French ending, goddess of Zoe, Luchang, god of holy shitballs. All right, I'm going to try this because it sounds like a fun word. At Bon Az Witch Aha Aha. And thou shalt send for the gods and goddesses of the plains of Snow Chang, and for the gods and goddesses of the Chihawongo roads, and for all the gods and goddesses in their own Nirvanian fields, and for the great chief Shulo of the roads of Jinahasi, something like that, and for all the gods and goddesses in his domains in Etherian worlds, and yet thou shalt remember of thy own knowledge many gods and goddesses, and thou shalt charge thy companions Oaks and Siwagang and Ha-Oha to sit counsel with thee, that ye may remember whomever so of chiefs and chieftainess, of shrivers and gods and goddesses, and may be delightful. And thou shalt command them in my name to meet in the feast of Septa, for it is the first in this, my new world. Make way. Sorry for that. Make way for them, make place for thee, O my daughter. Make wide the roadways in my lower heaven. Make my holy feast glorious. Cpenta Armji said, Too wide are the dams of earth, too far apart and cumbersome, O Father. More than 24,000 million will be my harvest unto thee, O Jehovah. Great is thy wisdom in Septa. The time for the beginning of a quarter ascensions, 50 years. Thy gods and goddesses, O Jehovah, and thy chief and chiefness will bind up these loose heavens into wholesome discipline. I will send my swift messengers into thy far-off Etherian worlds and bring thy sons and daughters to the feast. Cpenta Armji set off into the wide heavens, high beyond the earth heavens, invitations to tens of thousands of high-rise sons and daughters of the Great Spirit. Then she called the surveyors and table makers before Jehovah's throne and said unto them, The end of dawn is near at hand. I will give a feast, a very great feast. Go ye and survey the ground from Krishavi to the lakes of Ochilu in Etheria, and for the length thereof make ye a wideth in the form of Feti, and the road of the Feti shall be sufficient for the passage of 12 alvanzas abreast, and the depth of the Feti shall be as from the surface of the earth unto Shenvat, within 12 silos. Is that Spanish? Of Abram, and of the height of the circuit of Bilotho-Wichtium shall ye carry the border flames, and the flames shall be of double currents going and coming, that the food of the feast may be brought from any region suited to the high-rise grades. And the ark of the feast shall encompass the whole earth and extend outward to the belt of Kashavi, and then downward into 2 lines east and west, and the downward line shall be like the feet of a compass, one stationary and the other movable. And the light that extendeth from the ark down the movable line shall rest on the delivered host of Abram, and it shall bear upon his people that may hereafter draw light direct from the Father's throne in Kashavi, and shall move westward and be as an inheritance of Jehovah's light upon his corporal sons and daughters. But the line that standeth in the east shall be a baseline center, whither shall descend the Father's light upon the delivered sons and daughters of the hosts of Brahma and Po. And because of the ark of Cpenta upon them, they shall remain in their divisions of the earth. And for the deliverance of the harvest of the quarter, the high-rise horns of the ark shall stand into the 4 quarters, east, west, north, and south. Jehovah then spake through Cpenta Armji, saying, for I will illume the horns thereof in my new world. The earth and her heavens shall rest in the light of my roads forever, that no man having my examples before him can misunderstand me. Behold, it is given to a child only 1 lesson a day, and to a youth 2 lessons a day, and to a mature man many lessons a day. So in the early creation of man, I gave few lessons. Then in the youthful age of the race, many more lessons. But then the race hath attained to full manhood. Behold, I lay my light on their feet, that they may take my lessons every day. In one time I send the angels of the dead to lead men up to a knowledge of me and my places. But when man hath attained to think for himself, I set up my ark of Cpenta, and it is a candle in the firmament of heaven, wherefrom my light falleth upon soul of many people, without any interpreter, save my own voice. For which, when one of my words hath obtained to Cpenta, I come to deliver them from the kings and queens and priests and angels. And it is as the maturity of a son in his father's house, when he inviteth his neighbors and spreadeth a feast. Open wide thy places, O Cpenta Armji, a great joy is upon my Ethereal worlds. My high-rise sons and daughters shall have great glory in the earth and her heavens. Behold, I have proclaimed myself in the words of mortals. 4 high-rise sons have learned to know their Father in heaven. Cpenta Armji said, who can understand thy models, O Jehovah? Who cannot understand thy models, O Jehovah? Thou hast shown to mortals the food of the flesh and the source of the substance of the blood, as a symbol before them of thy Assyrian worlds and thy Assyrian peoples. Thou hast created the corporean members to receive and to impart, but this is not all. Thou createst poison to show man that which receiveth not and imparteth not is death. Most wisely, O Father, hast thou provided the degrees of substance unto thy creations, to the corporean corporal food, to the atmospherian food, to the etheric food. Why will I spread my tables, O Jehovah? Thy son, thy gods and goddesses, thy high-rise chieftains shall sit at the feast of Cpenta. The chiefness sent swift messengers into the regions of Ethereal worlds near the roadway of the great serpent. 500,000 swift messengers down to the atmospherian region. She sent messengers to the gods and lords. Her laborers, 10,000 messengers. To her invited guests, she privileged 1 million attendants. Next, Cpenta Armji sent 50,000 arrow ship makers in the regions of Ventagma in the Ethereal Itis to prepare ceremonial salvers and containing rods, so that all the thousands of million being united could hear the voice of Jehovah from her throne, movable in her alvanga. 12 counterpart cities she sent down to the lowest heavenly regions, so the all light should pierce the corporal earth. And now when her well-skilled workmen of tens of thousands of years experience had saluted and gone off to their respective labors, the chiefness spake before the council, saying, because of my ark upon the earth and her heavens, the light of our Father will forever remain with mortals. And in the Haddon fields, both behold, even as young men come to maturity, goeth away on his account in great hope and self-conceit of his powers, to meet many misfortunes in great darkness. So it will be with the earth and her heavens after Cpenta, because I plant my ark in these heavens, and say to the gods thereof, ye are free. Behold, there shall rise numerous false gods of great power, and as a young man goeth forth and puffed up with conceit, so will the atmospherian gods believe they know all things, and so bring great darkness and misery upon their kingdoms and upon themselves. But the light of my ark shall stand, shall grow like a small seed planted in time to come. Both angels and mortals shall understand that there is but one all light, a very center, to whom all gods are but as small diadems. As a young man of the earth must have experience of his own to realize his own shortness, so must even the gods of these lower heavens be left to run with a loose rein for the glory of Jehovah and for themselves in final deliverance, for which reason thereafter the bondage of the discipline of the God and his Lord shall be as nothing. Only hells and knots shall they longer cast out with fire and water. Only by persuasion and the examples of practice shall they hold dominion in their respective places. As in the early days, a king ruleth with a rod and with tyrannous laws, and as in a riper age the king and his armies give away to a power vested in the people, so shall my ark be the giving of the lower heavens and the earth beneath into the keeping of themselves. But my ark, which is the foundation of the Father's upper kingdoms within the lower heavens, shall stand forever. I go now on my journey down to the earth in my Alvanga, to receive and deliver my four gods, Os and Vishnu and Yima and Elia, God in chief. Thus saying, Cpenta Armji descended to the foot of Jehovah's throne, and the light fell upon Thale, and he rose up from the throne and descended, taking her hand, saying, Arise, O goddess, and hear thou the voice of thy Father, creator and ruler. Behold, thy labor on the earth and her heavens is near the end, and because of thy steadfastness, I am honored in thee, my daughter. Whilst thou art delivering my gods, behold, I will be with thee, and whatsoever thou desirest of me, I will give unto thee. My sons and daughters shall receive the visiting host from the higher heavens, and allot them places in the feast. And my sons and daughters shall receive and adorn my brides and bridegrooms, my trumpeters, and shall proclaim me in my works, for the surface of the earth to the farthest places in Saltwaka. Yeah, my light makers shall plant the staff of my holy fire in the throne of Krishavi, and the foot thereof shall pierce the earth in the land of Vinu, to receive and deliver my earth son Brahma. Go thou, O chiefness, holy one of great wisdom and power. It is the voice of thy father. Cpenta Armji stood aside and then said, To ye, my loved companions, Oaks and Siwagang and Ha-Oha, when the staff of the Father's light hath descended to the earth, come ye then to me quickly in my arrow ship of fire, for it shall be a signal betwixt us that in that hour I will rise up my gods from the corporeal earth, and I will open the earth and bring forth the bodies of my son Brahma and his wife Yutiv, whose youngest son beholdeth the leaven of the Osirian law. And I will have there assembled the hosts of 10 lords, and I will deliver their hands for their hands and for their successors the fulfillment of Divian laws. Her companions responded in Jehovah's wisdom, and power will be there. Chapter 13. The light of Jehovah now spread over Hot Sati and lined the road of Silkwatika, in Etheria, extending from the Orion banks of Lu Chi-wan to the Oxinian spars of Oahspe. The crossroads, Chi-i-wa-chung, and the plains of Sha-tumats were as seas and worlds of crystal fire, and in the piercing light, the old-time gods of millions of years agone sped forth in awe, majesty, and answer to the prayers of Cpenta Armji. And there rose over the earth and her heavens, further the Shinvat, a trident arc, broad as a world of shimmering light, the countless rays of Eth, as mortals see the glimmering air in a summer's day. But the Eth was of every color, hue, and tint, reflective and brilliant, the clear soul of things separate, the very breath of Jehovah. It was the beginning of the foam of the Ark of Septa, the deliverance of the earth and her heavens into new condition, to give, to bestow it upon itself, ratified by the ceremony of a festival for the gods and goddesses of the neighborhood, hundreds of millions of miles around about. Meanwhile, their high-rise companion, Cpenta Armji, known and loved in hundreds of Etherian worlds, was down on the low earth, laying the cornerstone for Jehovah's everlasting kingdom, whereon should fall presently from out the Ark of Septa a shaft of fire, the feast for the purified chiefness, who had for 4 years subsisted on the coarse provender of the lower heavens, and touched by the hand of immortal light was Brahma, long trained to look toward Jehovah, for his angel wife rose upward, leading his vision toward a realm amongst the gods and goddesses, whom he beheld in countless numbers, receiving her most royally. Thus, gazing on the glorious scene, the great man in soul came forth, leaving his corporeal part stretched on the ground, and Cpenta Armji and God took him, received the soul of Brahma, and held in obedience to the sacred purpose his place in the sacred circle with mortals 3 days. Then on the 4th, the chiefness signaled her swift messenger, and they touched the currents along till they ran high beyond the earth's vortex, where the stationed gods of Etheria fastened on the etheric wave, extending to the great arc over all. It was a signal for the shaft of light, and of which mortals have a weak and coarse symbol in the electric currents, which tear things unmeaningly and without judgment. But the etheric current is not so small and purposeless, but mighty, and a tool for Jehovah's fountain of all power, with skill and learnedly directed by such high-rised angels, have had millions of years of experience, who know well what prayers deserve an answer from the immortal spheres. And Cpenta Armji's name in word and wisdom had long been in fellowship with mighty works, so on many worlds, in her well-trained thought, so tuned to the Creator's purpose, kept ever in concert with the etheric foundation of the place and administration of thousands of goddesses and gods. And when the signal shot upward and the shaft of light began to pierce the earth's vortex, making way for Krishavi, it was also the signal for Oaks and Siwagang and Ha-Oha to fly instantly from their arrowship and make all speed for Cpenta Armji, that which they did now, even as a flash of light darteth forth, guides and directors of Jehovah's flame, to the grave of Brahma and Yutiv. As Cpenta Armji, standing by her ship, saw the shaft descending, she flew forth to the center of the circle, her hand pointing to the graves, and she said, "There, O Jehovah, come forth, O earth, in Jehovah's name, till 'tis I command." And down fell the bolt of light, piercing the new disturbed ground, rich with mortal tears, and thus made powerful to the soul current. And as a breath of wind would move a heap of feathers, so did the light, by the wave of Cpenta Armji's hand, blow the earth away and lift up the buried forms of 2 dead lovers, Brahma and Yutiv, and march them full before the mortal audience, newly animated and loving, hand in hand, triumph over death. Then spake Hag, the youngest mortal son, and Osirian in belief, Seeing the resurrection forms, it is. They very Brahma and Yutiv, my father and mother. The great Brahma now quickened in Cpenta Armji's arms, and God spake from Jehovah's throne a few words to the loving sons in mortal concourse, then took final leave. Cpenta Armji seized the folds of the shaft of light as a mortal would the ropes and canvas of a toy ship, and wrapping the earthly part of Brahma and Yutiv about securely, then wheeled in line her own ship and raked in the Ethereal current from high heavens, tossing her hand the known signal to the great workers in the trident arc above. The exchanging currents of the traveling flame began and now rise up the whole Ethereal host and the bodies of Brahma and Yutiv. That which had not raised a mile before, they were ethereized, scattered and gone, and the souls of the two sweet loves in cognizance and fellowship with the millions of Jehovah's sons and daughters now swiftly making way for Kashavi. Cpenta Armji's work was done in the arc of light in companionship of her compeers. The feast was open, and 1,000 of million in Rappaport sat along the series of tables, hundreds of millions of miles, to relish soul food brought from more than 1,000 worlds. Meanwhile, God, to finish his labors, resumed his throne in Kashavi, just in time to receive the 12 alvanzas sent from Yukos factories in Abram, in Etheria, to receive the 24,000 million brides and bridegrooms in Jehovah's name, who were to take the degree of third resurrection and be raised beyond the earth's vortex and emancipated in the Ethereal realms of Hot Sati. Shu in Ista, goddess of Umbriu, chief commandress of the fleet, having been appraised of the number of initiates, had prepared 12,000 rings, 1,000 for each alvanza, and the fleet in turn was in a ring, and the ring extended sufficiently wide to encircle the holy capital and throne in Grashavi, so that when it had descended to its place, God and his officers and the holy council of heaven and earth, now 30 million members, were in the center of the audience. On every side, far as the eye could see, stood the brides and bridegrooms of Jehovah, arrayed in spotless white, fearless before the light and ceremonies. When the fleet landed, she Insta, the commandress, came forth from the east, facing God on the throne. She said, "Thy voice, O God, hath called the name of Jehovah. Behold, I am the daughter sent by him to know thy will and holy desires." God said, "Behold, I am his son. Thou art sister. Hear me then in our Father's name. I have here a harvest of 24,000 million angels brought up out of the earth, pure and holy for Jehovah's emancipated kingdoms." Shu Insta said, "In his name, let them answer before me, that I may witness their wisdom and power sufficient to dwell in all purity. My father and I are one. My hosts have crossed the Nirvanian pastures. They no longer feed on substance rising from below, but on the light emanating from the Ethereal realms above." God said, "I know thou hast provided me, O Jehovah." Then here respond the hosts of brides and bridegrooms, saying, "By faith I know I am safe in the kingdoms of Jehovah. Take me to thy emancipated worlds, give me scope and power and wisdom for greater works." Then followed the full ceremony in usual way of the third resurrection, and when it was completed, the which had been witnessed by Cpenta Armji and other chiefness and chiefs above, who are at the feast of the Arca Septa, and when God had said, "O Jehovah, give me crowns for thy sons and daughters, brides and bridegrooms for thy Ethereal worlds," they were cast down by Cpenta Armji, her host, 24,000 million crowns, and they alighted all Jehovah's brides and bridegrooms' heads. And now God turned to Thale, who was to be his successor for the next 200 years. God said in Jehovah's name, "To thee I bestow the crown of earth and her heavens, and to thee also do I bequeath the triangle symbol of these regions and the inqua and the trident, and the later being new in these worlds and symbolical of the Arca Septa. And the interpretation of the trident shall be 3 lights, Jehovah, his son, God, and the star in the mortal soul, emblem of resurrection. Thale said, in thy name, O Jehovah, will I be God of earth and her heavens till the next rise of Dan. Be thou with me, O Father. Thereupon he that had been God laid the crown and jewels on Thale, saying, Hail, O God of earth and heaven. Hail, O God of earth and heaven. Hail, O earth and heaven. I can't, guys. Thus ended the ceremonies. That had been God descended to the foot of the throne and sat, and then God, who had been Thale, came down and took his hand, saying, Arise, O God, and go thy way. And he rose up and prepared to depart, for now had the ceremonies lasted 1 full day. Cpenta Armji, seeing it was finished, signaled the host for the close of the festival, and with her Arvanga passed over and above the fleet, and gave Shuinsta, the commandress, the sign whereupon the ascent began. The tens of thousands of millions of angels entered their respective places. The music of the insurers and the trumpeters sounded and resounded the distance of 100 worlds. Uprose the fleets, downward fell the showers of flowers and perfumes to those left behind. Higher and higher the great world of lights, higher and higher, till soon they passed beyond the earth's vortex, the boundary Shinvat. End of the book of Cpenta Armji. And then next time I will finish out, or maybe, I don't know, we'll see. The first book of God goes on a little bit. Goes on. So I will tackle that on the next one. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure you're like, share, and subscribe. Go check my website out. The link is in the description. Sending each and every one of you love, light, protection, and shielding. Please be safe, be seen. I hope you all have a really good start to your week. Make sure you're looking in that mirror and doing some inner work, saying how worthy you are, how amazing you are, how pretty you are, how handsome you are. You got to start doing the work, guys. So thank you all for your support, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.